Let's talk about the constructiveness you both share. And Savita, let's begin with you. That word euphoria.
Yeah.
Where are you seeing euphoria right now?
Look,
and where aren't you seeing it?
I think euphoria is really driven by themes at this point. So it's AI. Everybody owns the AI plays. If you look at positioning, there's a lot of building euphoria around drug discovery, GLP-1. So there's thematic euphoria. But if you look at the actual allocation of fund managers, pension funds are at the lowest level of equity exposure, public equity exposure, that we've seen since the 90s. This is not a market like 99 where everybody is telling you to back up the truck on all equities. They're saying back up the truck on a few equities, mega cap tech, some pharma, but there's no broad spread euphoria in my view. And when you look at the positioning, it says something a little bit different than the survey data, which I think is also important. What they say versus what they do is sometimes very different. I think the risks are sitting outside of the public market. Look at where this credit cycle actually unfolded. It was in private credit, private equity. And I think those are the areas. Regional banks, I think, are still working out some of their problems, and Jill can speak to that as well. But I think that's where you're seeing the credit issues really bubble up.
Jill, let's turn to the banks. How concerned should we be? It feels like we've moved beyond what happened last year. Is that still a focus for you?
Yeah, certainly. I think the regional banks are still an area where I think it makes sense to be very selective. We're positive on small caps this year, but within financials, that's an area where larger banks have looked a bit better than smaller banks, but I think there's still opportunity in some of the regionals. I think this is a market where stock picking makes sense. Our analysts have done a lot of work here. I think the environment this year has gotten a bit more optimistic for banks, given everyone was expecting a recession going into this year, and now we're not expecting a recession. Our economists will talk about that. I think the backdrop for M&A could pick up if we see, potentially an easier regulatory environment. We'll see how the election goes. And I think commercial real estate is still an issue, but it makes sense to, again, be selective, be a stock picker this year. And that's an environment where there's a lot of alpha opportunity.